Here is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of August 19th through the 23rd. I will go over price targets and have a gap recap from August 12th through the 16th and update the chart as well. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. First up is NEO. We ended the week at $3.95, up 3.13%. This is where we are. To the north side, it takes us to one level of resistance and a potential take profit area at 402, 409, and 415. To the south side, back at the middle of the trend and the baseline, 390, 377, 371, and 365. I do not anticipate we get to this level here, but if we do, you can anticipate people will take their profits and they will run, they will lock in, and they will leave. Now, as far as this gap, we are still in play with this one into the week, so I will just drag it out. I have no idea when it's going to touch, but if we continue to go upward as we are right now, that could hit on Monday. All day long, prices tend to stay within -2 and 2 standard deviations, but those calculations are constantly changing, so you have to pay attention to that. And this gap here opened up. This one is still in play, and that will take us down to roughly 374. And this gap touched right here, so I will delete this. That took us down to 376, and then we had a bounce off of support. Many levels of support, but this is a clear one right on the line. And that is done. And as far as the next gap up, it will be 468, but that is a long ways off. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, but something to be aware of. And then these gaps to the south side have already closed out. The next ticker is Boeing. I'm going to try to speed through these because I have 10 tickers to go through. Actually 11 because one did hit a target, so I'm replacing that and adding a new one. But for Boeing, we ended the week at 179.99, up 2.3%. To the north side, 2.03, I should say, 182.30, 183.52, and should we be so lucky to get to 4 standard deviations, 184.66. We are at the middle of the trend. And to the south side, 177.71, 176.57, and 175.35. Note this gap that formed last week, it's still in play to the south side. That will take us down to roughly 169.01. And this gap touched. And again, I just extend it. I have no idea where it's going to touch, and it looks like right there. Make that a little bit bigger. Yeah, let's just say we're right there. So remember, I had this extended to here, and I was off a little bit. Upon closer examination, that was basically at 163.55, and then we bounced and then fell back down. Let me delete that. No longer in play, no longer a threat to our account to the south side. And for Boeing, it has whipped us around so much. And then this gap also closed out. It began on August the 1st and finally closed on right there, Friday. So that took us, see, all we did is we reversed course. So it's kind of like a U-shaped pattern there. Delete. All right, so that's no longer in play. This one touched as well. And we touched right there. That one began on the 5th. Right there. So this is no longer in play at 169.70. Delete. Note the bounce off support here. And then this becomes resistance and then grinding along the middle of the trend. And so if we retrace, this next gap will be up to 198.51. We are not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, something to be aware of. But that is retracing back to this level if we fill this gap. And hopefully we do. And do I have anything else to the south side on this one? No. The next one is CVS. Option R to help me reset. All right. We ended the week at 58.35, up 1.37%, 58.87, 59.21, and 59.58, fingers crossed, 58.21, 57.52, 57.19, and 56.85. This gap opened up last week and still in play. We are moving farther away from it to the upside, as you can see on the 5-minute. But if you flip to the different time frames, you're going to get different buy and sell signals. And nothing significant with the gaps this past week. But this is the gap that I am tracking here. There are now 2 gaps. When I first started tracking this, there was only one, and it took us to 67.70. We are not in that channel, not in the zone, not even close. But something to be aware of. And again, in an upward channel on this one. Nothing to the south side that I'm tracking. Sofi. We ended the week at $7, up 1.30%, back to the middle of the trend and resistance, 707, 719, 726, and potentially 733. To the south side, 694, 687, and 681. As you can see, this gap is still in play to the upside, taking us to 713 roughly. This gap opened up last week, still in play, moving farther away from this. And this one as well. Let me just do this. And there are many other gaps to the north side with this one. Oh, look, this one touched. Oh yeah, I already cleaned that up. But all of these red gaps have closed to the south side, so that's good. We don't like open wounds. We want to cauterize it and clean it up, stop from bleeding out, and then chugging along. All right, that's Sofi. Up next, Tesla. We ended the week at 216.12, up 0.92%. The middle of the trend takes us to 217.86, very close to that. Resistance, 225.78, 229.73, and 233.56. To the south side, 210.05, 206.05, and 201.99, which will basically close out this gap. Excuse me. Right about there. 202, actually for the blue line, 202, 14-ish, give or take. Now, as far as the gaps go, this one touched here. Let's see if I can, right there at 198.13. So that gap is no longer in play. And that gap opened up essentially on Monday the 1st or Friday the week before. Okay, that's done. No longer a threat to our account to the south side. There are plenty of other threats, just not that one. You can see I have tracked this many times. So those are the targets to the upside. We're not in the channel, not in the zone. The next one will be this one. But this one did touch. All right, we opened up here at roughly on the 2nd of August. So we touched, it doesn't look like we touched there. Yeah, no, we did not. We touched right there on Tuesday, the 13th. So this gap is no longer in play to the upside. We are done with that one. And what happened here? This is the next one. So I'll drag that into the next week, taking us to 246.23. And this next one, 281.01, not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, just something to be aware of. And this gap to the south side has been haunting us for a long time here. Oh, and this one closed out right about there on Friday the 19th, let's say. So let me delete that. I really should look at this on a different time frame to close this out, because you cannot go left without just scrolling, because it stops. So it's better just to go to a different, bigger time frame. All right, that's it for Tesla. Oops. The next one is Nike. And I want to thank Murat for pointing this out. Trader Murat, he says that he is tracking this and he likes it. He likes the Ford PE, which is at, I think, 24.51. And I hope that's right as of right now. And he sent me a message just a couple of days ago, so I don't know if it changed. But the Ford PE, a good number is between 10 and 25. So we're at the cusp there, but still in the range. And apparently he sold some NVIDIA to get Nike, SCMI, let's see, AMD and something else. But I'll go over those charts later. So I just wanted you to be aware of this. I don't do fundamental analysis on this channel. It's just technical, basically giving you the next day's range of price targets, and also in the big picture, because if you're playing the gap, typically if the gaps are away from the price, then it takes a while to get there. So to the middle of the trend takes us to 84.20, 85.84, 86.64, and 87.49, 82.54, 81.72, and 80.89. Looking left for the gaps. This one is still in play to 73.08. This one opened up last week, still in play. This one is in play as well. Let me just do this one too, because it's a bigger box and these two numbers won't get in my way. But if I do this one, it's just 2. If I mark out the top and the bottom of the box, it just gets messy. All right. And as far as this target to the upside, still in play, taking us to what? 94.27. Oops. Now I'm going to flip this to the daily so you can see something. Oh, that's the weekly. I've tracked this one many times as well. Look at all of these weeks that I've been tracking to fill a gap to the upside and to the downside. But I will stop tracking this when we fill back up to 122.40. That's when I'll dump this for tracking purposes. Now, this looks like a hot mess, but I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see. So the middle of the trend on the daily takes us to roughly 84.59, and then above that, $100.40, and back down to 2 standard deviations will take us to roughly 68.64. I was looking at someone else's website that said the fair value of this stock is $67 and something cents. I don't know if we're going to get that low, but the potential is there, but at least down to 72.67, and then obviously along the line at -2 standard deviations. But on June 28th, we were at $75.37, but I've tracked it previously at 72.56, might be the lowest, but that would have been nice to get in for a pop. So in the big picture, you definitely want to see this on the daily, the weekly, and the monthly. I troll on the monthly for my longer term plays, and I like to get it, 40 and below, 30 and below if you can, but sometimes some tickers just never get there. And I've marked this out on the monthly time frame, even though we're on the daily, but the lowest we've gone on the monthly is 31.59. And right now on the daily, it looks like we're starting to go sideways, and we're not even going to make it to this level of 70 and above for being oversold. Yeah, actually it's could go like this and then fall back down. But the highest we've gone on the daily looks like 79 maybe. Oh, maybe even higher. Oh, no. 83. And then we've cracked after that. Yeah, that seems like the highest point. So what goes up must come down. So you can definitely bank on that, if at least to go down for another leg up. Now, the next one I want to go over is Intel. We're at $20.87, up 0.87%. This is where we are to the north side. 21.21, 21.39, 21.58, middle of the trend, very close to that level. 20.84, 20.45, 20.27, 20.07. Ignore all my horizontal lines. They're either buy-in prices, prices I've sold at, or support and resistance. And I go over that in different charts because this one I'm just trying to bang this out here. Okay, so looking left, this gap formed to the south side, taking us down to 1937. This gap formed last week as well, taking us to roughly 1994. What's going on with this one? This is still in play to the upside at 21.41. And this gap here, see how it's right here? But because I just drag it out, I have no idea when I'm going to hit. I never went through and cleaned up my chart. Well, it didn't hit here, but it did touch here at $20.36. And then we hit this level of resistance and fell down back to support with the buy-in. That is no longer in play. Delete. And then after that is another, oh my goodness, forget it. I'm not even going to drag that down, but right here is another gap. Okay, well, let me just show it to you. Okay, that will take us to long-term 29, roughly 18-ish. And look at this. This is when we crashed down here, down 26%, went down even lower, and then boom, here's a trade there. Get out, get in, get out-ish around here, buy in, resistance, sell off, support. I mean, that's really nice. It's scary when you're tanking and you think we're in a recession or depression, but then there's some fake out good news and then boom, you're back up again. Or no news, it's just people buying the dip. All right, so I did buy some. Okay, I did buy in a little bit more here and here to dollar cost average down. The next one is TSLY. This one's a nightmare too. All right, we ended the week at 1373, up 0.07%. Resistance, 1830, 1410, 1424, and right here at 4 standard deviations, 1439. We've got a gap closure here at 1437. Just drag that out. To the south side, 1350, 1336, and roughly 1321. So this gap is an extension from previous weeks, and we're still looking forward to that closure. Not there yet. Look at, we had a high here, a 1610 on July 19th. Wait, July 19th, yeah. But we've got other gaps to the upside, which I'm not going to talk about because we're not in the channel, not in the zone, just something to be aware of. One gap at a time. Unless, of course, you're looking big picture and hoping to fill a bunch of them, but it'll still whip you around. Okay, so that was TSLY. Dash. Some great news with Dash. We did hit a gap fill, so that's nice. I'll talk about that in a second. To 129.03, down 0.97%. 129.85, 131.79, 132.74, 133.72. Don't hold your breath for that one. And 127.93, 126.94, 125.94. This is the gap that I have been tracking for, I believe, 14 weeks, but it hit. So let me clean this up and then I'll go to a different time frame so you can see it more easily. See it better. Okay, so we closed out this gap on Tuesday the 13th. So this gap is no longer in play. It took us to 127.01. We ran even all the way up to this line, your clear sell signal, at least one of them. Your clear buy signal, if this is resistance, we're falling down, this turns into support, back up to resistance, back down to support. So this is a gap to the south side and another gap to the south side that I have been tracking. But for the purposes of this gap and go video that I make, I don't track gaps to the south side for my own self, but I just point them out to you as a gap fill. I point out those just because I'm looking at it, but all I do is track to the upside and a gap closure to fill. So it did. Let me just show you on the daily. Yeah, I think I counted 14 weeks, but I'm not going to count it again. I don't want to hold you up here watching this. Okay, we are at 129.03. We are at the middle of the trend. So this was support. This is now resistance. And on the daily, we could fall back down to support and then possibly grind back up. The 1 year price target is 144.12. So according to the analysts, there's a lot of potential still, 11%. And obviously this is a look back period because I have no idea when they started this 1 year price target because they don't tell you. So that's a problem. 153.29 to the upside. And then to the south side, 104.60. But on the way down, we would fill this gap and then potentially fill this one too. And so this is done. Delete, delete, delete. Delete. Okay, that's it. So that gap filled. And I am done tracking this ticker. I started to track it when I saw this gap down, and I put this into my gap and go video. but it took that long to finally close out. The next one I want to go over is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 10 is RIVN. Well, look at this. Since I'm here, I've tracked this many times to the upside. Let me clean this up. Yeah, this one already closed, but I did not go back and delete that. And then what about this one? Yeah, that one is the bottom of that gap. Delete. So this gap, oh, it's hard to see. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Actually, I'm going to clean this up when I'm finished making this video. I don't want to hold you up again looking at this. But many gaps that I have not removed the price tag there because they are no longer in play. But just know I've tracked this for a very long time and many of the gaps have hit. So 1321 is where we ended up, or excuse me, down 4%. So to the north side, 1341, 1386, 1409, 1432, 1294, 1271, and 1248. This gap is still in play to the south side, so I'll drag that out. This one touched and that one touched as well. This is still in play to the upside. And then what do we have after that? We've got, did this one ever touch? Let me go to the 30. This is the one I'm looking at. No, so that will take us to roughly 2345. All right, and because Dash did hit the only target I was tracking to the upside, I will no longer be tracking this for the purposes of the Gap and Go video. I am putting in a different ticker, and that ticker is Chipotle, which tanked because the CEO of Chipotle is now going to Starbucks, and that ticker ran off of the news. So let me give you the price targets for Monday on the 5-minute time frame. We ended the week at 52.47, down 2.78%. The 1-year price target is 63.12. So we're at 53.50 for the middle of the trend, 54.97, 55.67, 56.36, 52.08, 51.35, and 50.62. So the last time I looked at this ticker was at 51.68. So right here to here was a 5% return, but if you got it down here, that's a 13% return. Delete. I just wanted to show you that. So this gap is still in play to the upside at 55.83. This gap closed out. You can see all these little baby gaps that have closed out. I'm not going to bother to track that, but let me show you this on the daily because look at that gap closed, that gap closed. So on the daily, we are $52. Let me move this. 52.47 right here. So that is a target at 53.30-ish, and then which is still along this line, and then the middle of the trend is 62.78. And what did I say? 63.12 is the target. So just a hair over the middle of the trend on the daily. But on the daily, you can see without having any bad news that we were already at resistance. What happens at resistance? People take their profits and they run, they lock in and they leave. And that's exactly what happened. And then it coincided down here with some bad news because the CEO is leaving. And then bounce down there. And see how wonky this got? I have to change this and fix it. Because when you go to different time frames, the price ticker thing there moves as well. It's terrible. All right, that's it. That is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of the 19th through the 23rd. And I'll make an updated video throughout the week to see if anything exciting happens. Otherwise, I will do another video on this next week at the end of the week. Have a great trading week, everyone. Thank you so much for watching.